Nah, that's cool, man. I was just thinking about Chavo Classic, Chavo Guerrero Sr. He uh, he told me once, and I've had a couple of OGs confirm that this was true. Back before it was illegal to drink and drive, the guys would get beer for the car trip, and they would measure how far it was from one town to the next by how much beer they needed. So somebody, hey Dwayne, how far is it to Bossier City? Oh, it's about a case of beer, Or how far is it? How far is it to Beaumont? Oh, that's just a 6-pack, man. Just different time, different place.
Dangerous.
Yeah, very dangerous. But at this point, it's changed now. And now, like for example, AEW, they fly us in. And Tony Khan, I wonder, I haven't even asked him, but this might come from, his ownership of the Jaguars and Fulham. But we have a team hotel. So they cover our hotels. They fly us in, they put us up at a hotel, they provide transportation from the hotel to the venue and back. Some people, depending on their contracts, have their own car service, but there's a team bus that's afforded. So now it's a piece of cake, really, compared to how it used to be. I think WWE has the same model where they fly you in and then you're responsible for your car, your hotel. I don't know how much things have changed there since I left, but they make it really, really easy. And like with WWE, when they did the overseas tours, all you had to do is get on the bus every day. Just show up. Just show up, get on the bus. They're going to get you to the arena, to the hotel. So it's really easy. And if you weren't making it to the bus or you were late or whatever, which happens sometimes, a little too much of the sauce, it would happen. But if you're a professional, you make it. And it's really nowhere near as demanding as it once was.
How much of a match is scripted versus called in the ring? And how does that change depending on the experience level?
Now, it's funny because that question is actually, in today's world of wrestling, almost controversial. So traditionally, especially like the OG guys, those, matches from yesteryear, most of it was called in the ring. Because remember, historically, you had heels and baby faces, good guys and bad guys. And most buildings, they weren't allowed to be in the same locker room. And you'd have a referee that would travel back and forth between the two locker rooms to say who's up, who's down, who's going over, who's winning and losing. Maybe they might send over, hey, look, we might want to do this, let him know that, so that information of what would happen in the match would get transferred from one locker room to the other by a referee a lot of times. Sometimes it was just the referee would come at the finish, and then you got to go out there and call your match. As time has moved on, there became an element of guys talking out a lot more of their matches before they went into the ring. And I think part of that came with television time and production values, because you've got a producer who sits in the TV truck, and now they have to be aware of what camera angles are taking place and where to get the best shot of this, whatever's happening. So the producers or agents or coaches, depending on what, where you work and what you're calling them these days, you always have a producer, or at AEW, we call them coaches, assigned to your match. Used to be agent. And that person will come and tell you how much time you've got, what the story is of the match, what they're looking for, and what the finish is. So
That's their only input. Time.
Primarily.
Okay.
Now, again, this is where we come into experience level. If you're a less experienced guy, then the producer or coach might be a bit more hands-on in terms of suggesting how to go about doing things. Or, you put your match together, and a less experienced wrestler will literally lay everything out from A to Z. And then I'll punch you 3 times, and then you block. And I did it too when I was first starting out. I remember I'd have 20-minute matches memorized, and then I'll drop down and you leapfrog, and you'd have the whole match memorized.
Do you remember your first match and who called it?
My very first match was a flea market match at Opalaka Hialeah Flea Market. And it wasn't really as much of a match as it was like a quick exhibition. So me and the guy talked about it like for 3 or 4 minutes beforehand. And I remember I didn't have wrestling gear yet. And my wrestling teacher, oh man, shout out to Soul Man Alex G. He didn't want us to do that supermarket, that flea market show. And the guy who was producing it was a well-known local shyster, and he putting it on. And he said, if y'all go work that show, don't come back here.
Oh.
But we were young and eager. We wanted to go work. And he finally relented. He said, okay, go ahead, And it was awful. It was terrible. Nobody on that show was ready to be on a show, but we all no, we're ready. I didn't even have gear yet, and I went out there, talking my, cutting the early promo, talking trash, whoever wants to get at me, and somebody came, and I had on some dress pants and a dress shirt, and I remember I gave him a suplex and split my pants, and it was awful. So it was one of those things where we learned in real time that your teacher knows what they're talking about.
And were you Antonio Banks?
At that time, yes, I was Antonio Banks. No, Antonio Banks hadn't been born yet. I was actually, at that point, my very first character, high-profile Tony Style.
Nice.
High-profile Tony Style, yeah. That was, shout out to high-profile Tony Style.